What a wild finish to the first preseason game. The Cowboys falling 13-12 to the Rams after Stetson Bennett and company driving downfield for the go-ahead score in SoFi Stadium. Welcome into Inside Cowboys Training Camp, presented by Ford, Nicole, Hutchison, and Nick Harris. Nick, wild finish. No touchdowns scored for the Cowboys. But when you talk about this offense, what would you say went wrong offensively?
Yeah, it was about a preseason game in every way, shape, and subject that you can think of. It was just a hard-nosed, grinded-out type of football. Defenses were able to come up, and offenses just weren't able to execute. And I think when you look at the Cowboys side of the equation, you look at Trey Lance being able to lead the team down the field. But as we've seen out here in Oxnard, he's had trouble in the red zone, and that's exactly what happened whenever he got into game action at SoFi Stadium. He missed a fourth down pass from the 4-yard line to Jalen Cropper. That would have been a touchdown early in the game. He missed two other touchdown throws, one to Luke Schoonmaker and another one to Princeton Fant that he had wide open that he just missed in the third quarter. But overall, Trey Lance, while he didn't maybe do much to impress, he didn't make many mistakes either. 0 interceptions. He kept the ball clean. He didn't make anything to where he was forcing the ball. Whenever he did sail passes, they went out of bounds. So mistake-free football, you have to like that, but also you got to get on the board too.
For sure, and I believe that, it just takes more reps, right? That's something that we've heard from Mike McCarthy 1,000 times about Trey Lance. He just needs a little bit more reps. So that preseason game against the Raiders will be crucial for him. But switching over to the defensive side of the ball, Mike Zimmer's defense, man, 4 interceptions from those guys. I mean, and he did it without even having a play call sheet. What did you think?
Yeah, Stetson Bennett, he was in trouble for quite the majority of the afternoon. I mean, when you look at those 4 interceptions, it was just a product of guys being in the right place and Stetson Bennett putting right in their hands. I would have to say the first interception by Marquise Bell was probably the most that anybody had to leap up to go grab a ball. But other than that, it was just guys being in the right place. But you see that disguise. You see that a new system that's being integrated from Mike Zimmer. It's starting to progress as we get deeper into training camp, but it's already throwing off opposing quarterbacks, so maybe that'll translate into the regular season as well.
We talk about the interceptions, but we did not talk about the troubles that Stetson Bennett faced. Jason Johnson with a sack on Stetson Bennett. We talk about him. How about the other rookies, right? What about a rookie roll call? Let's do that. Whose stock price is going up? Whose stock price is going down? That's coming up right here on Inside Cowboys Training Camp.
Inside Cowboys Training Camp, presented by Ford, is brought to you by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys. And by your North Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas. This segment is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors, official sporting goods retailer of the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, the bar has been set high for this rookie class, and certainly they're meeting the standards so far through training camp. Welcome into Inside Cowboys Training Camp, presented by Ford, and this segment is brought to you by Sleep Number, Nicole, Hutchison, Nick Harris. We got to do a little rookie roll call here, right? First preseason game, Kalen Carson. What did you think about him so far?
Yeah, Kalen Carson, he's had a really strong camp, and while he probably did get beat a few more times than he would have liked in his preseason opener, you have to love that the confidence that he's stacked out here in Oxnard. It just needs to translate to the field a little bit more. I mean, being a rookie, going out for your first preseason game, those butterflies are going to be there. He had a couple of moments on Sunday, don't get me wrong, but I think Kalen Carson expects maybe a little bit more out of himself going into week 2 of the preseason.
And what about Jason Johnson?
Yeah, I love Jason Johnson, the undrafted rookie linebacker out of UCF. I think he's a strong contender to at least be on the practice squad going into his rookie year, but he was able to get into the backfield for the game's only sack. The Cowboys defense did not generate a whole lot of pressure, but he was able to get to the quarterback in the fourth quarter and get the game's only sack for the defense. And then from a cover perspective, he was just where he needed to be at all times. You love to have that there in the second level.
Ryan Flanoy, 2 receptions for only 8 yards. Not something you technically want to see out of the rookie who has some promise, right?
Yeah, this receiver position and who's going to get that 5th or 6th spot, that's coming up to be really interesting as we get deeper into camp. You have Ryan Flanoy, the 6th-round pick out of Southeast Missouri State. He had a bad drop in the game, only had those 2 receptions. Then you look at a guy like Jalen Cropper, the 2nd-year undrafted guy out of Fresno State, played really well on on Sunday, and that's just an addition to what he's been doing out here at training camp here in Oxnard. So if he continues those performances, Cropper might be in the mix to be able to snag that last roster spot from Flanoy.
Now, Marshawn Nealon, obviously defensive end, had his big shoes to fill with Sam Williams going down for the rest of the season. What impressed you the most about him against the Rams?
Yeah, only a couple of drives from Nealon, but you saw those run fits. You saw that run defense that he brings from Western Michigan. He has that big skill set at about 265, 270 pounds. He's able to use that power to get around the edge and seal off the edge in the running game. And you saw that come up a couple of times. Wasn't able to necessarily generate pressure on the quarterback, but that was maybe just a product of him only being in the game for about 2 drives. I'm very curious to see what he does from a pass rush perspective as the preseason powers on.
I feel like Marshawn Nealon is continuing to turn heads, right, especially against the Rams. But you know who else turned a little bit of heads? TB12. Tom Brady was in attendance, but we also didn't see much of TB13, Tyron Billy Johnson. Hardly seeing him on offense. We're breaking that down up next.
This segment was brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors, official sporting goods retailer of the Dallas Cowboys.
We're here to wrap things up on Inside Cowboys training camp presented by Ford. Nicole, Hutchison, Nick Harris, and a guy that we have been talking about so much is Tyron Billy Johnson, who's had an impressive camp so far. But we didn't see him on offense at all. He took 0 snaps offensively against the Rams, but he was certainly used as a returner. Do you want to see him involved in this offense to kind of get some more chances?
Yeah, me and Nicole were sitting next to each other in the press box at SoFi on Sunday, and we were looking up in the 3rd and 4th quarter saying, where's Tyron Billy Johnson? I mean, this is a guy who's been out here in Oxnard and has stacked really good days. He maybe didn't have the best week this past week, but he's had a really good camp overall, and did not see him take any offensive snaps. It was really interesting, and I was able to catch up with Tyron Billy Johnson in the locker room after the game, just one-on-one off to the side. He was like, hey, I don't make those decisions. I'm cool with it. So it looks like he's at least cool with the opportunity that he is being given. We saw him come in for a couple of return opportunities, but yeah, I would like to see him more on offense as we go into Vegas next week.
Do you see him getting more opportunities against the Vegas Raiders?
Yeah, you would hope so, right? I mean, you look at the guys who did have those opportunities. Jalen Brooks was awesome in his limited work. If they decide to go ahead and put the bubble wrap on him and let him sit for the rest of the preseason, then Tyron Billy Johnson is a guy that they can put on the outside and trust with those same responsibilities that Brooks had, maybe even with a little bit more speed and downfield ability. That's what Trey Lance really needs in these games. He needs a guy who can come in and be that playmaking guy, and Tyron Billy Johnson has proved that. He proved that in the last preseason. He had a 100-yard game in the preseason last year, so being able to take that into the preseason this year as they're trying to fight for the bottom of that roster spot on the depth chart of the receiver position, it could be huge for TBJ.
A guy that spent time on practice squad last year with the Cowboys, and certainly, like you mentioned, stacking good days. Over the next couple of days, we'll see how involved he is in this offense. The Cowboys having a joint practice with the Rams again on Wednesday. What area do you feel like this Cowboys team needs to focus on the most?
Yeah, they're trying to get that lick back, right? That final drive from the Rams, being able to score with 4 seconds left. Maybe they want a little bit of revenge out here in Oxnard. But the things I'm continuing to look at are in the trenches. The cool thing about the joint practices that is different from the preseason game is the sense that we're going to see that first-team offense and that first-team defense on the field a lot more going up against other ones for the Rams. So looking in the trenches, Tyler Guyton, Cooper Beebe, while they did play on Sunday, they'll get a lot more reps on Wednesday. Guyton is healthy now, and so he'll be able to take that to the field on Wednesday. And on the defensive side of the ball, Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, are those guys continuing to generate pressure on a consistent basis? We didn't see a whole lot of pressure in the preseason game, indicating that the depth of that rotation unit on the defensive line, maybe it's a little suspect, but if the starters up front and Parsons and Lawrence are stepping up, then pressure feels really good going into the season. So those are a couple of things I have an eye on, but there's going to be so much to watch on Wednesday.
You talk about the work in the trenches. What about that running back room? I mean, it seems like there's still some work to be done there. Are you looking to see more out of Malik Davis?
Yeah, I would love to see more out of Malik Davis. He didn't have a great game on Sunday. He had a couple of drops in the receiving game. You would have to think that was his big opportunity to be able to stamp a claim on the RB3 spot. So we're going to see as time goes on how that starts to develop.
Well, the Cowboys get back to practice on Tuesday. Monday was an off day, time to recover. We'll be back here. More on Inside Cowboys training camp on Tuesday. We'll be back.
Inside Cowboys Training Camp, presented by Ford, was brought to you by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys. And by your North Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas.